Welcome, welcome, welcome. What's up, everybody? It's me, Sigma. This is the Sigma Show, episode 7. Before I let you guys know who is joining me today, we're going to just go over what our topics for this week are. First off, we're going to be talking about that new Tom and Jerry trailer. Brand new movie coming out from those guys. The interesting release that they've chosen to do for the Wonder Woman 1984 movie. Apparently, it's going to get a theater and digital release at the same time. Some Animal Crossing rules have been laid out that we'll discuss. And news that I find personally exciting, a new James Bond game is on the way from the Hitman developer IO Interactive. Mm-hmm. But to talk to me about all those things, I am joined by Superman Jeff.
What's going on?
And Blue Bones.
It's your boy. What's going on, everybody?
Welcome back to the show, fans? Guys.
Thanks, bro.
We're going to jump right into things. First up, have you guys seen this Tom and Jerry movie trailer?
I have.
Mm-hmm.
What is your first immediate impression? And before your first immediate impression of the trailer, what do you, what's your history with Tom and Jerry the cartoon? Honestly, is it something you grew up with, care about, don't care about?
I definitely grew up watching it.
Okay.
Yeah, Tom and Jerry babysitted me for a long time. You know what I mean? I feel like over the years I grew to see. At first I was like, yeah, forget Tom, bro. He's a stupid cat. Da, 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 da. And over the years I was really sympathetic. Like, yo, this man just trying to live his life.
Sometimes, and yeah.
A lot of the times Jerry just let me just go steal some food, and then the head of the house is like, yo, Tom, you gotta handle that. And Tom's like,
I just want to chill.
And he just doesn't win. He just wants to sleep. You know what I'm saying? So I got sympathetic from Tom over the years, but I do still enjoy the literal classic cat and mouse chase.
Right. It's almost as if they invented that saying. I'm sure it must have come before them, but they seem to embody it so well.
Because cats have been chasing mice from before cartoons. I am pretty sure that's accurate. So, but you're right. That saying, the first thing I think about is Tom and Jerry. It's such a staple in our society, I think, and I do love the series. I do love it.
All right, so now that they have a new movie, because I don't know if you guys remember, there was another Tom and Jerry movie before this.
Oh, there's been a couple
where they talked.
There's been a couple.
Really? There were others other than
There's a Christmas one. There's a Thanksgiving. There's
that went to theaters.
No. Oh, theaters, no. Straight to TV.
Yeah, because
or DVD.
Yeah, the one that I remember that did actually play in theaters, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but they had them talk. Like Tom and Jerry had voices, and I
heard about that.
Yeah, the excuse they gave was, "Well, you never said anything to me, so I didn't say anything to you." After all these years, which I thought was so funny.
It is,
but
bruh, you're lying.
No, that's legit what they said to each other.
I need to watch that now.
I legit liked it. I thought it was a good movie, that one. But this new one, what is your take? From seeing the trailer, there's real people involved.
So for me, I mean, I think like Blue said, there's that classic game of cat and mouse. I mean, you think of the Roadrunner and the
Wile E. Coyote. Yeah,
Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah, but these two stick out because they're literally a cat and a mouse, so it always stuck out. And I felt like they had more interesting stuff going on besides that dynamic. With the Coyote and the Roadrunner, it was that was just it. That was it. There was no side stuff. But the movie definitely reminds me of Sonic. The whole feel from it, with that animation in real life.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're throwing a lot of money at this. If you see the actors that are in it, you got Hit Girl, you got what's his name from Ant-Man. Can't think of his name.
To avoid that specifically, because I was gonna say Hit Girl, I was gonna say the dude from the beginning of Ant-Man.
Because she's got 3 names. What? Chloe Grace Moretz?
I pulled it up, so I wouldn't say that. Chloe Grace Moretz.
Okay.
Moritz. Excuse me. Yeah, that's weird. And Michael Pena is who you're talking about. Yeah.
They're throwing a lot of money at this. It also reminds me of, and I hope it's not as bad as that. You remember that Looney Tunes movie? With what's his name?
Brendan Fraser, right?
Yep, Brendan Fraser.
Oh, right. Yeah. I
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
see that. It didn't look good. Did you
It
actually watch
wasn't.
it? It wasn't.
I did. It wasn't good.
Jeff's
But
volume's a little low.
Oh
uh,
yeah, Lampy's
uh,
saying your volume's a little low.
I did watch it, but it wasn't good. It wasn't
There we
good at
go.
all. But I will say this does look better. Like it gives me hope that these actors are involved with it because a lot of animation in real time, real life, doesn't usually translate very well. And I'm hoping that that's the difference with this.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, I kind of feel differently. I thought, like, I was excited to see that there was a new Tom and Jerry movie. Like, I do think that them themselves look good in that kind of pseudo 3D cartoony aesthetic. But I kind of feel like they stick out weirdly in the real world, and like it does look a lot like. I'm glad you brought that movie up because it was like blank from my brain. It looks a lot like that. I think it was like Looney Tunes Back in Action or something.
Yeah, I think that was the exact subtitle.
And this feels a lot like that, also in the sense that it seems like it's not funny. Like the thing that's so the thing that's so I want to say compelling about Tom and Jerry is, like you guys mentioned, that cat and mouse game, but also like the absurd amount of violence that they kind of exhibit towards each other. Like the Simpsons parody this a
Right.
lot with the Itchy and Scratchy. Like they go over the top.
Oh,
but
yeah.
they're not that far removed from
Not
Tom
really.
and Jerry. Like they do really horrible things to each other, and like
It-
that shock is kind of the thing that I've grown to love about them, because it's such an old cartoon and they kind of could get away with
Yeah.
just
anything.
anything, right?
Never show blood though. I will say
Right,
that.
yeah.
Never
They can stop short of
Always
that.
ketchup.
But man, I do gotta say, like, and like you were saying, I like the actors in it. Like Chloe, I like Chloe Grace Moretz. I like Michael Pena. But it just seems like that, like there's no reason for them. Like the movie's Tom and Jerry, but then they kind of have like
These two.
they position Chloe as, oh, I need to stop this mouse, and so I got Tom, and it's like they're doing it together, and like I don't necessarily need that. Like, what is she, like? She's not gonna get hit by an anvil or whatever, is she? Like, I mean, it
Yeah,
just seems unnecessary.
I think the
So,
demographic too is a little confusing too. Like, what age group are they aiming this at?
But and I think that's kind of what my thought was going into this trailer, and I'm glad you said that, Jeff. And first of all, we gotta hydrate, right? Sorry, I just saw it. It just popped in my head. First of all, going into this trailer, I was like, I don't want to see another reboot of one of my favorite cartoons, right? And then I'm like, okay, let me give it a chance. Let me give it a chance. So I'm watching this, and what I see is a classic Tom and Jerry cartoon, literally just painted over some real life. And I'm not
kinda
mad at it.
It looks thrown on there to me.
And the fact is, it's not for us necessarily. It's for our kids.
Mhm.
I'm sure if we look back at some of the other stuff that we loved, and I think Lampy mentioned it earlier, like Space Jam. If Space Jam came out today, we'd probably be like, what are we? What is this?
Honestly, I disagree.
I don't know.
I kind of disagree. Look, we actually had a talk like this when
With
I
the
was
premise.
with Jack and Darren on the Escapist Movie Podcast. How like the trick of like these new animation studios like Disney, Pixar, and whatnot is that they started making just across the board good movies. Like it's not a kids movie, you know. It's not aimed at kids in the sense that
Yeah.
it's a bad movie and they're cartoon characters and so kids will like it. Like they just made good movies, and so that bridges the gap between adult and kid, because kids can tell the difference sometimes. But you know, when if they're gonna be watching it anyway, why not make it good? You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think it's enough to say, oh well, it's for kids, so it doesn't matter that the quality is lacking here or there, like in terms of storytelling or
no.
animation or whatever.
I definitely think storytelling and details and those nuances drop when the main demographic is lower, for sure. But the quality of the look, the quality of the action, the sets, and everything like that, I think it should still be top notch. And sorry, one more thing I forgot to mention: Ken Jeong is in this too.
Oh right, yeah,
Yeah,
He is in
Senior
there.
Chang. One thing I was confused about also was the difference between the like the animals and the people, like what was going to be animated and what was not going to be animated. Because you saw elephants that
Yeah,
were,
they were like elephants and pigeons and
yeah. So is every animal animated?
Yeah.
Are we going to see like nothing real life? I don't know. I'm curious to see how that's going to work out. But if I see like real life animals right side by side by animated animals, I'm going to be like,
Yeah.
yeah,
what's the explanation?
it is a little inconsistent, right? Yeah,
It could be.
cuz it's not like a world like Cool World, for example, or like Who Framed Roger
Mhm.
Rabbit, where they're like, "Oh, these are cartoon characters, and we just know that they're cartoon characters." It
It's a
just seems
different
like,
world.
yeah, it just seems like this is how it is. These guys are like this, and we're like this, and nobody cares.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But yeah, if
No
it's
question.
inconsistent, I do think there'll probably be some questions that even the kids will be asking, not just the parents. Like, what the hell? What are you trying to tell me here?
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
did get more excited before the hotel part when they were just on the road and it looked like it was about to be life after the cartoon.
Yeah,
We were gonna get the big city type deal, and it was gonna show their struggles after their show was over type situation.
that
And
I would have
kinda,
loved that.
yeah, kind of like a more endearing story as opposed to okay, show's over. He just happened to be at the hotel, and she happened to be well. He happened to end up with her as her cat, and he needed to bring her in. I mean, the cat into catch the mouse type situation because it just brought them right back together as opposed to them both off leading like separate lives and kind of like maybe
Missing one
coming
another,
together,
or
yeah, or something like that.
Like, honestly, I know Tom's stressed because he's just trying to leave life behind. He gets to this hotel and he's like, dang, I gotta catch this mouse.
Like,
Of all of them, I've been doing this for 30, 40 years, man.
I ain't never catch him once. Like my
and
luck.
and every time I catch him, sometimes every time I catch him, it bites me in the butt.
And
Every
Jerry's like,
time.
this guy? Like you thought he was gonna catch me?
He gonna catch you. Watch this.
I'm gonna go make a sandwich. I'll see you later.
I mean, one other thing that I also find just weird is like why is it do they need to have the live action element? Like they stuck with Tom and Jerry, not going like kind of realistic CG ish, right? They didn't do the thing where they didn't do the Lion King thing where they made actual animals be Tom and Jerry either. They're like these are
Right.
cartoon characters, they're iconic, we want them to look the same. So why put them in the real world? Why not make the entire movie a 2D animated thing?
Because
Like-
they've seen success from other movies. Like I said, Sonic was one of those movies where you could kind of do
Detective
like
Pikachu.
yeah, Detective Pikachu. You could do a pseudo animation, kind of. It wasn't full on animation, but it wasn't. It wasn't definitely wasn't real life.
But I mean,
So they
is it cheaper to do it that? Because I honestly don't know. Like I just wonder like
no.
why such hesitation to just do a full on 2D thing? Like the last 2D movie that I can remember was the Teen Titans Go movie,
No.
Yeah.
and honestly, it
I
was
don't
good.
know if-
I liked it a lot. It stuck to the art style. They just made it much more high quality, but it was good. It functioned. Like why
I don't
does everyone have to go
I
to
don't
the
know
real
if-
world?
I don't think it's hesitation or fear. I think it's a style choice.
Yeah.
I think it's a trend that they want to continue. I don't think it's to shun the old styles or the older styles, I should say. Yeah, I don't think it's anything malicious like that. I think it's definitely we want to do this overlay, so this augmented reality feel is kind of the direction
Yeah.
we go.
All right,
Because
well, I'm not a
it's
fan.
different than having an actor voice a character. But if you have that actor in the actual movie, then there's a better chance that it's gonna pull those people who kind of gravitate to that actor. So like if I seen
That
these
that's
two-
what I think is going on, and I think that's to the detriment of the movie because what they're saying is Tom and Jerry isn't enough. Like we need to get some other bigger name involved in this so that we can put them on the billboard and have them take pictures and do interviews because just the thought of Tom and Jerry being brought back in a movie isn't good enough.
And it's not. I'll be honest with you. It's not. Not for kids who might not know who Tom and Jerry is, or even some older kids who don't know who Tom and Jerry is. They're trying to bridge that gap by using those two. So Tom and Jerry, for us more so, and then some of those actors to kind of bridge that gap to show the connection. Hey, Tom and Jerry are cool because we got these two actors in there, and these two actors are cool. So guess what? You should watch this movie.
I mean, it makes sense on that level. Lampy's adding, it's a storytelling device too to help the viewer engage with the world they know without having to explain it.
Ooh, good point.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like
immersion.
when you do put them in the real world, you kind of have to explain that because that's not the world that they're from. Like,
We just ignore it
Well,
altogether. I
no.
mean,
Well, this is the
that's
thing. You have to explain a lot less,
Mm.
saying that okay, look, you recognize the real world, but these animated kids ain't real, right? As opposed to okay, the world is not like this with zero gravity and all houses don't explode like that. Just explaining cartoons aren't real. I think that's a harder conversation. I don't know. I'm not a pops, but I think that's I think it's a harder conversation than this little animated thing was put on top of a
Mhm.
video of real world.
all right, well, to each their own, I guess. I
Yeah,
do hope it comes out well. I just gotta say, like, that first trailer put me off a bit. Like, I am a Tom and Jerry fan. Like, I like the cartoons. That movie doesn't look great so far.
I was surprised how much I'm not saying that I'm over the moon about it, but I was surprised how much I liked that trailer.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed the opening where they were both about to walk down that road together. That
Hmm.
definitely grabbed my attention. Like I said, I kind of fell off a little bit when they got to the hotel because then I was more confined. I wanted to see like a Tom and Jerry type esque life story after the
Yeah,
cartoon, but
I feel
you know,
that.
All right, we'll see. Maybe they do that in the margins of all the slapstick.
That would be great.
But we'll move on to our next topic here. Wonder Woman 1984 pushed back multiple
Yeah.
times due to the pandemic. It should have released, I think, in June of
hmm
this past year.
yeah,
Not
this
even
past
last
Yeah.
year.
year. This
It was
past
supposed
year.
to originally come out last November, then it got pushed back.
Yeah, it got pushed into
Yeah,
June, and then now they're saying it's
yeah.
going to release. I can't remember the date, but whenever that date is,
Christmas
Christmas.
Day.
Christmas
Christmas
Day,
Day.
right?
Christmas.
So on Christmas, it is coming to theaters, but also to HBO Max. No additional
Yeah.
cost like with Mulan, but just if you're subscribed, you get to watch Wonder Woman in your house. If you want to go out to theaters, you can go watch it in the theaters. And I
And you
guess you
know,
would pay then to do that.
the reason why they're doing the theater run as well is because for the country who have their COVID a little bit more intact, who can go to these theaters, they want to get that money because Tenet saw a great sales overseas as opposed to, you know,
Mm.
in the U.S. So they want to get some of that money as well.
That makes sense. I,
But
did, I was not thinking of the worldwide release.
yes, and
That's
also
U.S. thinking, bro.
Oh, and Lampy says it's actually the 16th in most of the world, not the 25th.
oh,
Mm.
so just for us, it's Christmas Day. Okay, and then you have that partnership between the WB, DC properties, and HBO. So they definitely want to incentivize people to come to HBO Max. So that's another reason why to pull people in also to subscribe to that. So it's twofold because they know they're not going to get any theater seats in the U.S. because right now you have Regal who's bankrupt, you have AMC barely making a float. Now hopefully this
Yeah.
does release in the U.S. in theaters, but it's not a great time with COVID
Yeah,
actors
like people
going
are
high.
expecting another spike here. They're encouraging no one to travel for the holidays at all. So to release kind of a big budget movie in theaters kind of flies in the face of all of
Loki
that stuff.
is Loki irresponsible.
Like a little bit, yeah.
Like,
But
They
I'm
if
might
you're
not
a
release
team
it in
player,
the U.S. They might not release it in the U.S. They might just do, like I said, overseas and bank on that HBO subscription because
that's gonna be heavy.
but
yeah,
um but I'm wondering why do you guys think this is the first time they've thought to do this? Because I can't remember
yeah.
any other big budget thing where they went like let's put it in the theater and in the home thing without any other bells and whistles.
Well, because what happens is at the time where if you remember Fast, no, what was that? The Trolls movie.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
it hit huge on the digital sales, and they had that falling out with the movie theater industry,
Hmm.
where they were like, we're not going to air any more
Was
of your
it
movies.
AMC?
I think it was AMC. They were like, we're boycotting your movies pretty much.
Or no, it was Regal. It was Regal.
Oh, yep. Come to
I'm
think of it.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's cool, fam. And so at that time, the world was kind of on the same level as far as COVID goes. There were massive death tolls, and it was constantly rising. So it seems like most parts of the world are kind of getting their stuff in line. So it makes it a little bit more feasible to release to um, the worldwide theater market, where before that wasn't an option. And also, they did do that with Tenet. Tenet was released worldwide, and it also makes it possible for people to watch it here in the U.S. who definitely won't be seeing it in any theaters anytime soon. So, um, and that's going to help HBO Max once again with their subscriptions. They should see an uptick in new subscriptions
Oh yeah.
because of this movie coming out.
Oh yeah.
I mean, specifically because of Wonder Woman, I would imagine, because I do think that's still probably the most well received of any of the DC
Oh,
things that have come out.
absolutely.
Like I know people liked
Yeah.
Aquaman and Shazam, but I don't think they're rating them higher than Wonder Woman so far. But I still wonder because they it was the theater specifically who made such a big fuss about this push to digital, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it is a good point that it's really kind of America and a few other countries that are still behind the curve in terms of this COVID stuff. Like they're making it difficult for these industries to open back up and be successful. So why not leave them out of it? Like forget America's release and focus on the rest of the world. I feel like America has dominated that conversation in a sense, so that it has been dragging down the industry worldwide. Because if it can't release in America, which is historically a very big cinema market, they feel like they won't make the money back regardless of anywhere else they release it. And just like Jeff mentioned, Tenet proved that you can do that. Like open it everywhere else, let them go see it. But I don't actually know. Did Tenet also open in theaters here as well?
It did open here. It did open here.
Did it do
Yeah.
well
But
here?
it wasn't like
It didn't do well because we were still all theaters still weren't open,
lockdown.
and
Right.
there were staggered releases as well. So like movie theaters in PA opened in before New Jersey because of the level. So it all depended on what your level was for COVID before the theaters could actually open back up.
Lampy's adding America is a small market compared to Row. Actually, can you explain what Row is? I'm not sure I know what Row is. Do you guys know?
I was just about to look it up actually.
Oh, rest of world. Okay.
Oh,
You see how
okay.
insular America is? Like we don't even know what the acronym for the rest of the world is.
Why?
Yeah,
Why
that made
should-
no that
I'm
did not
sorry.
click at all.
And also
Sad.
because of not only just
No.
because of sales, because of the blowback they would get from the people who are fans of those franchises that they're releasing overseas, and we can't see them in the U.S. So there'll be a definite uptick of, hey, how come you can release it over there and we can't get anything here? And what happens is you that's just like releasing something here, and they can't get it, in the other parts of the world. Now
Right,
we
but-
have seen that with certain Japanese.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of stuff
animated
happens all the
first,
time.
but not with like these big franchises. Could you see what would happen if they released like Wonder Woman in Europe first, and then we just never got it here for maybe like another year? Over that time, you know how many bootlegs would
Yeah,
be
it would be
released?
tons of
How
piracy
many
is what
that
would
type of
happen.
stuff?
Right.
Son,
And,
it would be
and it,
instantaneous.
yeah, and that goes back to what you said. If you put this stuff in a centralized location, people would pay for it as opposed to steal it. But when you put it out of their reach and they have to jump through bells and whistles to get it, then they're gonna get it in any means that they can.
All right. So in general, do you guys think this is a good idea? Like, yes, put it
Yeah.
in theaters wherever it can be in theaters. Put it on streaming services so people have the choice. Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
options is
Absolutely.
always good in my opinion.
So you would want to see this for everything going forward because there are still a bunch of superhero movies that have been pushed out of into oblivion, like all the Marvel ones, the TV shows. Like, would you want to maybe see a push for everything that was potentially slated for theaters to just be put on streaming platforms? Like, does that make sense? Do you think for the theater, for the industry, for fans?
I'm glad you said the industry. The consumer in me is like, yeah, that sounds super dope. The industry side of me is like, I'm worried, and not to say that there's not an abundance, but I'm worried about funding. If this market gets kicked out, will budgets really stay the same if this market is taken out of the picture?
So you think people will spend less money to make the content if it's not going to show in theaters exclusively first?
I believe because the return is going to be less initially. So I do think that there might be a decrease in quality in film over the next couple of years if this trend continues. So like I said, the consumer in me is like, yeah, that's super dope. The industry person in me is worried But that doesn't mean that there's not hope. There's all kinds of ways to get funding. But yeah, that concerns me.
So for me, I would say that you have to look at it from this point of view where they have all these movies that are done, right? They're done. They put the money in to make them, but then they're not getting anything back from them right now because they're just sitting in limbo. What do we do with them? I feel like this was a very a very this was the last choice. I mean, it took a while for them to come up with this decision, and because they're sitting on this movie, but they still making other movies, which means they're still putting out money, but they have none coming back in, and it has to be throughput in order, especially in these industries where money's coming in and money's going out, to keep certain things funded. I'm sure they don't have an infinite, budget for movies in general, so they're expecting funds to come back from this project, funds to come back from that project, to put towards here, to put towards there. But these projects are going to be put on hold because we still have these projects that are done sitting in limbo. So they figure if we can release it worldwide, we can get some of that money from there back. But also, I'm sure HBO Max is going to be paying them some money.
Right, yeah.
So they're
Oh
going to
yeah.
be getting some money from there. Now, will it be as much as they would get
And
from...
that's right there. That question that you're asking right now is the key to my concern.
That
What
goes
is the
back
difference?
to, but that goes back to, do you make lower quality movies because of a market that's out? Because these other markets aren't going to be, they're paying their money, or when it comes to them, they're not going to want to hear, well, this is a lower budget movie because we couldn't release it in the U.S. They're still going to expect that quality, and people who critique those movies are still going to be expecting that quality. So they can't lower the quality because of a market. But once again, if they take 80% of what they would get, or sit on 0% because they can't release it in theaters everywhere. Now, like you said, I think we mentioned this before. Brickles went bankrupt. AMC might follow suit. Then you really won't have a theater industry in the U.S. besides some of the mom and pop places. But even those, you think those would have been standing if AMC and Regal couldn't
Hold up.
outlasted COVID? So, or we might see a new chain of theaters open. We don't know. Somebody might buy them once everything opens back up and kind of dies back down.
Amazon.
Right. Yeah. No, I was just about to mention that too. I guess I feel like there might be less of a choice if the money is not guaranteed to come back. You know what I'm saying? If I was gonna fund a movie, if I had a whole bunch of money, I was like, all right, I want to put my money into this movie. How much am I gonna get back from it? Right? The numbers, if we continue going with this method, the numbers are going to be I think are going to be lower than what they would have been last year, the year, and in the previous
But you got to look at
history.
it. Well, Wonder Woman, or a movie like this, they always make back way more than whatever money they put into it. They always make back way more. If you look at the last Wonder Woman, let me just pull it up while you're talking.
But
Well, I mean,
and that's the incentive, though.
yeah,
Yes. So you would see if they put in, let's say, 2 million, and then on a movie they make back 100 million, releasing it worldwide with the U.S. involved. Let's take the U.S. out, and they lose 50 million. They're still making 150 million on a $2 million budget.
but the
So
thing
they're
is,
making...
That's cool for us.
yeah, the
That's
thing
not cool
is,
for them.
yeah, the thing people get fired over that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
that's cool.
they
For
want
us.
the
And
they want the
50 million is
return.
a lot of money.
Yeah, they want that return to be well above what the movie costs and also what the last movie did.
Yeah.
Like they want you to keep going up. There's no limit to it. They're not happy with breaking even in all.
So let me ask you a question.
Uh-huh.
So if they hold on to the movie, when do you think they could have released it? Because this movie's been done for
I'm-
quite some time. So like, if let's say they hold on to it and let's say they don't release any movies in the U.S. until the theaters open back up, they release everything overseas. What do you think the outcome of that is?
Honestly, all the theaters would probably be done. Like if everyone was to just to be 100% honest, if people stopped giving other people reasons to go out, like if everyone just stopped, they could have probably released this, like when this stuff started. If everyone just stopped, they probably could have released this movie in theaters worldwide by Christmas. Like by now, we probably could have safely went to see it. Since that didn't happen, and since there's all these attempts at trying to just break open the market before it's ready, is why it's kind of come to this. And if those theater chains do go out and are no longer a thing, I'm kind of an introverted person. Like, I don't really like to go outside of the house all that often if I don't need to. I personally would not be that affected if all movies going forward were just released to the house, or were dually released to the house in the theater. Like, because I'd rather choose, like, okay, now we want to go out to go see a thing as a group, or I just want to see this thing in my house because I can, For me, no, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I think the argument before was, and I get what you're saying, where they had the issue with Regal was they released it in digital, and what happened was Regal missed out on all that money. They wanted them to hold that movie until the theaters opened. But here's the thing now. That's not even an option anymore. So there can't be any blowback from the theater industry. But once things do open back up, it should just go right to theater because
in order to help them, but no one else though.
No.
It's like, all right, you guys have struggled long enough. Let's all collectively help the theater industry back.
Help the movie theater.
Yeah.
For me, I enjoy going. I mean, how many times has the government bailed out other places? Let's just be honest. So if I was,
they probably already had their bailout sessions
saying,
already. Bro.
For one, if I had a choice to see Wonder Woman at home or in the theaters being safe, I would go to the theaters. I've always been that person. If there's something I really want to see, I could have it at home. But if I really want to see it, I want to go to the theaters to experience. It's the experience.
Do you want the choice?
I don't.
Do you want the choice?
If the choice is mine, then yes. If it's something I'm going to see in theaters. If it's something I wouldn't.
No. I'm saying, do you want the choice to see it in theaters or at home?
You're saying for the sake of the theaters, you don't want the choice because you want the theater to survive. That's what you're saying.
What I'm saying is, if I had the choice, I would go to the theaters to see it.
Mm-hmm.
I know, but I'm saying, okay, so let's say you said Wonder Woman is a movie, or for the example, is a movie that you really, really want to see. So you're going to go to theaters. Cool.
Absolutely.
Imagine another movie that you kind of half want to see.
Mm. Then I would wait for it to come on DVD.
You would wait for it to come on DVD.
If I'm not that much into that movie, because I'm either one side or the other. Either I want to see a movie or I don't want to see a movie.
Jeff only deals in extremes.
Yeah, only extremes. Wow. You should know this by now. Go to the
I
theater.
personally like a little flexibility, you know what I mean?
But it's good news for fans and for people who are going to be stuck in the house. We have seen cases rising, and it's like I think it's safer for people to have the option right now. Anybody who has the option isn't going to go to the theaters right now. If you value your health and everybody else's health around you, you won't be going to a movie theaters. Even that still kind of plays into you won't be going shopping to these closed spaces, but people still do that. So we move on. We move on from that, but.
I don't think that's an exception. Online shopping is great. It's safe.
But like me working in retail, if I see how many people are in the store, we have capacity. So we're at half capacity. So I got to go up front and start limiting people as they come in, because they'll just keep coming in. And I'm like, just hey guys, just remember to keep 6 feet. People you got to have a mask on to come in.
And so it is ultimately safer to remove the choice, honestly, because people make bad choices, essentially.
Absolutely.
So shut down the movie theater industry.
Not for drugs. I think here's the thing: in order for things to shut down, they have to have security. You can't have these places shut down and then have to still worry about paying rent. Have to still worry about paying.
And that's a big systemic issue that a lot of different industries are dealing with right now. It's just the lack of our government to properly address that stuff is the root cause of all this, in all honesty. Like, not necessarily whether people want to go to the movies or not. So, like, there's not too much we, as fans of either movies or the movie industry or whatnot, can do about that, which sucks. Mm-hmm. But I do want to say, I think there is a world where this becomes the norm. This dual release thing becomes the norm, and everybody is happy. The only thing is, these movie people, like these movie industry people, probably won't make as much money as they've made before. Like the days of $1 billion returns from the box office, you probably won't see those anymore in this new era. And that's probably because across the board, every movie that gets made and submitted to these streaming platforms it's going to at least make a baseline amount of money back. So like more of the risk is actually taken out. It's just more of that reward is probably
It's taken out as
stamped
well.
down, right? So I feel like I feel like honestly to move forward in this model would just help a lot more stuff get made without execs being super scared that it's not going to make the money back.
PC the one says, "Yeah, I feel this will become the new normal." And Night Shadow said, "I would have it even as far as cost and the money would go where it needs to be." I'm guess that's going as far as the dual releasing.
So my one thing I do want to say, if these theaters start opening up back regularly, what I really want to see is a decrease in prices for everything at the movie theaters.
Yeah,
and I know that's
quite
not
expensive.
They're expensive for like no
Yeah.
reason.
Like I stopped buying
reason.
food at the movie theaters so long ago because it's like 3 to 4 times the
Exactly.
cost of any
Yeah.
reasonable place that sells the same item.
Like
To me,
that
that's
is.
the experience. You know that going in that.
I do not like to
Unfortunately,
experience
it's true.
getting
It is
robbed.
true.
I'm sorry, that's something you're into.
You know that going in, like, hey, I need to put this much money towards going to the
I
movies.
hate that.
That's how much it's gonna cost.
I hate that.
But that's what almost everything you do is gonna cost more.
Yeah, but
than
check it out. I can sit at home and drink, and I can sit with my lady, and we can laugh. We can pause it.
Eat
At
beans.
home, I can eat beans. You know what I mean?
Leppy had a good point too. He said, to be fair to both sides, Cineworld, the company that owns Regal, has put themselves in this situation, but highly geared with taking out too many loans and VC money. And that's a big thing. The companies who seem to survive are companies who weren't in debt to begin with. They didn't borrow a bunch of money. My job pretty much said, hey, we're safe because we don't owe any money. We have no debt. We haven't borrowed any money from anywhere. So there's room, there's cushion. They had no
Yeah.
cushion going into this. So this just kind of, this was the hump that broke the camel's back.
Right. Like they were kind of working on a model where they were kind of on the back foot to begin with, and then this just shoved them off a
Tip
cliff.
them over. Yeah.
So I mean, there's definitely nuance to this discussion. Like I can't predict, if it'll go one way or the other. I do want to see it go one way versus another, and clearly Jeff wants the opposite. But all we can do is wait and see. I'm planning to watch Wonder Woman at home.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh yeah, I am.
100%.
I mean, there's no theaters that I know to be open.
Movie theaters tend to
find
be
one.
open
Yeah.
on Christmas, but yeah, as of right now, I don't know.
Oh, I mean safely. Like they're
Right.
they're probably
Oh,
open. but I mean, like,
safely?
safely
Yeah,
open.
no.
Yeah, no. There's no
And if you
movie
trust-
worth health.
If you trust the American people to get over this COVID anytime soon,
Oh my god.
then you'll be back in theater soon, bro.
Everybody be in the theater with no mask on.
See ya in 2023.
Mm-mm.
I can't even imagine going out and being in a closed space with people with no masks right now. I can't imagine that. That's
I
like
think
yeah.
sickening to me.
It's even safe for all the cartoons with Santa in it. He should have a mask on going down these chimneys. Like they should put that in there to understand. Like, hey,
Yo, yeah, we gotta start. Like, it's weird to watch stuff nowadays where people are in groups
And they don't have masks on.
right. I watched the Fresh. This is a tangent. Sorry, I watched the
Yeah, no,
Fresh
you
Prince reunion last night, and was like, I'm assuming they all got tested before they all sat in this living room together, because it was like, I haven't seen you in so long, and blah blah blah. Like, there's a lot of people here in this tiny
y'all
space.
quarantined.
You're not immediately related to each other. I know you're calling yourselves family. You got to put a mask on.
yeah. Like I was watching the Kevin Hart stand up on Netflix. Everybody in the audience had 2 masks on.
I do.
Like they had 2 masks on. They had the N7 mask from Mass Effect, and then they had the
You
regular
dumb.
cloth mask.
Get out of here.
Anyway, we're gonna
Get
move
outta
on to our
here.
third topic. So, Animal Crossing, the phenomenon that kind of was like the silver lining to the nightmare that was 2020. Like, people found Animal Crossing again, right? It was
Yeah.
used in lots of interesting ways as well. Like, I've seen talk shows played out in Animal Crossing. I've seen events happen in Animal Crossing. And politicians have used Animal Crossing, Joe Biden specifically, to kind of not I guess not advertise, but encourage people to go out and vote. Right, it was an island you could visit. It was like Joe Biden's campaign island. You saw like posters. I think there was a Joe Biden character who was like running around like hosting people and whatnot. And
Yeah.
Nintendo has come out and said now, after kind of all the hubbub of the election has concluded, no more of this. Like, please do not use Animal Crossing to advertise, to talk about politics. Like, leave the game world out of the real world, or leave the real world out of the game world is kind of what they're saying.
Yeah.
And some people criticize that Nintendo saying something like this after the election has passed. They look at it as some sort of conspiracy or whatnot. But regardless of that conversation, what is your take on Nintendo saying leave Animal Crossing out of, you know, your other agendas? Because clearly they're using the popularity of Animal Crossing to push other messages. Like, what is you guys' immediate take to Nintendo saying leave us out of it?
For me, I think it's more so. First off, they should have said something before if it was an issue. That's just my thing. Don't wait until all this publicity is on. She should have said something then. Two, we had the whole Among Us thing before, so it goes hand in hand. Now, was he pushing votes, or was he just telling people? I mean, trying to hey, come vote for me, or was it kind of a go vote? Which was the? Because I haven't seen. I'm not an Animal Crosser.
I'm not an Animal Crosser.
That's an interesting term right there.
No, to my understanding, and this seems to be across the board for most people who talk about elections. They don't say vote for me. They tend to say go vote. But kind of in the background who they want you to vote for. They're not going to tell you.
What is the difference between the two situations, though?
Well, what Nintendo is saying, because I personally don't see a difference between those two situations. Like, they're pushing the same agenda, go vote, right? What Nintendo is saying is don't do it here.
I think it's Nintendo's right to do that. It's their game. They made it for a reason. Now, granted, they released it to us and we bought that, right? And there's a certain amount of freedom that I think we're owed within it, but at the same time, because of how much weight I think Animal Crossing holds, I'm not saying it's going to swing states or nothing like that, but
We don't know that.
I think it might. I don't know.
It won Georgia.
Stacey Abrams is right there in her Dream Island. No, I don't think it's gonna. It holds weight. I think they realize that and they feel like they need to say something. Now, Jeff, you said they should have said something before. I think you might be right. However, I think saying something before the election ended might have looked like they were siding with Trump.
How does it look now, though? It looks the same way.
Now it looks like, because everything is done.
Yeah, because it's
now
done. Yeah, now it looks.
Everything's not done because he's still taking things to court.
Well,
and
it's
stuff
done.
Like that.
It is done.
I don't know. I don't trust it until when
I'm
he's
just upset
inaugurated.
that you even
Like, if
said
the
that.
if the inauguration is going on, I don't trust it. You know what I'm saying? He's taking things to court and stuff, and you have some people siding with that.
Bro,
like, I'm just saying.
anything that he's contesting doesn't change the results.
Yeah,
Well,
if you look at,
I guess you could see it from the other end because Trump's biggest thing was that Biden soft on China type situation. So I could see that other end. So they want to make sure they can't be accused of favoring
Trying-
one candidate of the
Exactly.
other. I can see that part because Trump has been like that was the whole trade war was over where all the tariffs on goods from China and Japan were just extra tax because of that whole situation with him. So I can kind of see that part. But then it plays to freedom of speech. What stops a charity? What's the difference between a charity going and say, "Hey, come donate"? Let's say the Red Cross was in Animal Crossing. Hey, come donate to the Red Cross, Toys for Tots. Come donate for us. Blah blah blah. They're advertising as well. There's no difference. So
Yeah,
it's hard for you. Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah, I
hear
think
you,
that's
and I
that's the crux of it, right? It's the juxtaposition of it's Nintendo's IP versus it's my freedom of speech. Like, I bought the game, I own it. I can Like the whole premise of Animal Crossing is make your island, make your town, customize this thing, that thing. If I want to put stuff that advertises my services or other services, whatnot, like, is it not my right to do that as long as it doesn't hurt
So,
anybody?
well, hold on. So
Ooh, I have a
yes,
question for you
but
before you go into that. Because I want you to, if you can add that on to there.
Mhm.
Do they have like a terms and service thing where they're saying if you violate these agreements?
exactly, bro. That's what I was going to talk
I
about.
think
So
that's
when
what.
you
Yeah,
do,
they recently updated it with this information.
yeah. So when you go online, it says, "Don't be a jerk." That's what the whole thing says. You know what I mean? Don't be a
that long
jerk.
giant list.
Big words.
It tells you, no hate speech, no craziness, and I think this is this is another thing that they're enforcing for their online thing. On your own um island, if you're local, you can do whatever you want. You can have a whole KKK island. Just don't take it online.
Just don't take it online.
Well, but
Actually, don't have a KKK island.
right, because that's like hate speech. That's not protected.
I know. I was
Yeah,
giving
I
an
guess
extreme
give an
example.
extreme.
No, I get
Extreme
what you're saying, but I honestly feel like, yeah, because if you, I don't know, I do feel like that's part of the experience. Like Nintendo can't police what you're able to express yourself, because like they could
No,
very
what
easily.
you're able to share, yeah.
I don't know. Well, because it depends on what you're sharing. That's what I'm saying. Like there is a line there. Like you can share whatever is unique to you. Don't be hateful. You know what I mean? Because it could easily go the other way when Nintendo says don't get political, whatever that means in this context.
Yeah.
And then someone has an entire LGBT island, and somebody else is like, oh, that offends me. That's political. When it's not. And then Nintendo would then have to say, well, you can't share that, and that's problematic.
you're
Lampy
right.
in the chat says, "Is Casey advertising his OnlyFans on Animal Crossing again?"
If I did have an OnlyFans, I don't know if Animal Crossing would be the place to let people know about that. but yeah, I honestly feel like this boils down to a conversation about freedom of speech. Like how much control should Nintendo have over what the people using their software can do in it? And I think that's an interesting
right.
conversation.
Yeah. That's go ahead.
We've seen a lot of records of that with the Army's Twitch page, where they were actually pulling people in and trying to get them to come into the Army. I think there's a difference between trying to, now if he was saying come vote for me, come vote for me, come vote for me, come vote for me, that's different because now you're trying to
You're soliciting.
yeah,
It's
you're
like
kind of like begging
solicitation.
for money. Yeah, you're begging for money online. To that same extent. So as opposed to voter awareness, or even for the military work, support your local military, or hey, to come and volunteer at any branch. If the military is something you're thinking about, kind of like the commercials, kind of on the same thing. But it gets very, very niche when you start to try to pick people to come into your cause. Like you're almost like recruiting for a cult or something. Like I think there has to be like a fine line between that. Because
I feel what you're saying. You're saying using some other company's platform to solicit, to like sell a thing or recruit for a thing, seems a lot more menacing than just using it as a soundboard. Like saying, look, this is who we are, this is what we do. You can find more information here, but you don't necessarily have to, buy this thing. Or like we're not telling you what to do, we're telling you about a thing that you can do if you want to. Like it's a thin line, but there is a difference, I feel like.
Yeah. Same thing with charity.
I think at the end of the day, if you're using Nintendo servers, they can tell you what you can do on there.
Wait, say it again.
If you're using Nintendo servers, they can tell you what you can do on there. They can say, "Hey, look, no political stuff. We're gonna cut it," and they said that we're gonna you're gonna get a written notice or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll let you know ahead of time, and I'm sure there's deliberation.
Okay. What if they do like a vote for Pedro Island? Like, would that be
what's
against
that?
the rules? If they do like a vote for Pedro Island, would that be against the rules?
Vote for Pedro Island. Considering that is, I mean, it depends if Pedro's running.
Is there an
I
actual
guess.
Pedro running?
Yeah, there's an actual Pedro
for
running,
Senate?
or if that's a direct, reference to the Napoleon Dynamite movie. So that's something that you deliberate with Nintendo. But at the end of the day, it's their servers that you're using.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah, it's true. It's just I think it starts to create a very uh it worries me with, like I said, freedom of speech. Freedom of speech to certain things. Like there's no freedom of hate, that type of stuff. There's no you can't harass people online, that type of stuff. That type of stuff should be restrained. But I think the fact that they are involved in these, Among Us, Animal Crossing, that it shows that they value our gamers as a source for voting. They know now before in the government, gamers were slackers. All these
Hmm.
violent video games are the cause of everything. Video games don't do anything, and you still see that nowadays. And I try to explain to people like playing video games are very educational. They're puzzles. There are things you have to overcome. It teaches a child problem solving. Like there's multiple, it's art now. Before video games were just a detriment to the society. Now they're politics are actually trying to pull us in. Like that's a big thing.
Yeah,
As
like
long as
it's being
they stay.
recognized as a demographic that you
We're
can
being
communicate to.
acknowledged. We're being acknowledged is what you're saying, and I feel that. I feel that, man.
Hey,
Um,
if it was you.
um, yeah. What's up?
Liam Goo, I want to read this message from them real quick.
Yeah.
It said, although private servers isn't it the case that Nintendo created a public space for expression and now they should abide by freedom of expression rules?
The rules that you should abide by are the rules that you agreed to in the end user license agreement, and
But
that's what.
But when you update that later on,
Yeah,
and
you
then
can
update,
decide. You can decide to. You have to agree every time there's a new
I mean, yeah, it's true.
ULA.
You do.
You have to accept it again. So
Yeah, if they
if you
change
didn't
it,
read it,
they
that's
don't
on
let you
you.
play until you hit that accept
You
button.
cannot
And we all
play.
just scroll down to the bottom as fast as you can and just
Mhm,
click the whatever
mhm.
button. No one actually reads it. But
But you pressed it.
I do wonder because like, and I know I made the case earlier that freedom of speech, Nintendo has to abide by. Blah. They don't necessarily have to do that. That's not true. Nintendo isn't even an American company. I don't know what the
Yeah.
Japanese
Yeah, Constitution is.
yeah, I don't know what the Japanese Bill of Rights is. Do they have freedom of speech in Japan? I don't know. But essentially, like I do think either way you're running into tricky territory when like
Oh, yeah.
Lim Gu says you open up a thing where people can express themselves and then you clamp down on how they can in specific ways. Like cuz definitely across the board everyone knows don't be a jerk on the internet. Like companies are responsible for trying to filter that stuff out. But when you're doing anything else, it gets more dicey. And like politicizing and advertising, like those are tricky areas that aren't very defined yet.
We remember the whole Blizzard thing with what was the guy's name? And I can't remember. They banned him. They took his prize money and stuff because he was.
Oh, you talk
Oh, because he spoke out in support
Protesting?
of the protesting.
Mhm. And that was like he violated our no politics rule, that type of stuff, and all the blowback they saw from that. And they actually thought about, oh yeah, we were wrong. Let's go back and reinstate him and give him all his money and that type of stuff. So I think that it's a very thin line. I mean, I think they just have to be very careful about what side they're on that on that particular line because it does become very tricky.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
again, I think it's another situation where this is something that's developing. Like game companies probably haven't had to
Yeah.
deal with all this forward facing, these direct routes into, the
Not
politics
even once.
of nations and whatnot. Like all they were trying to do was make a fun video game, right? But now there's a ton of responsibility because of the interconnectivity and the popularity. And so like this is something that's gonna evolve. We'll probably see new instances of, their rules changing and trying to adapt. And we can only hope that, things end in a way that's kind of fair for everyone.
Yeah, we're gonna get totally gaming-based societies where all of our product placement is just gonna be in the game, just like Ready Player One, everything like that. That's where we're
It's
trying to go,
coming.
right? You know?
I wrote a thing about Fortnite taking over the
We on
world.
our
It didn't get picked up by Escapist, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll put it somewhere else because I did write it out.
I mean, at the end of the day, when you have millions and millions of players online who won't leave the house, aren't doing their political research. If you could throw your face up there, son, you pulling in a lot of votes.
Yeah, did you see what's the name? He was on Fortnite.
Yeah,
Right. Yo,
I'm gonna vote for him. He's a gamer
Dude,
too.
legit.
that's-
Son,
Yo,
that's how some people vote, though.
except those people are like 15, to be fair. they're not legally allowed.
No, those people are voting age. I know those people are voting age, bro.
All right, we're actually like way over time. Do you guys want to go
Oh,
into the last
snaps.
topic
What's the last?
about the Hitman James Bond? We can save it for later because we
Save it
actually,
for later.
yeah, we went way over time. Sorry about that. But we'll probably carry this over into next week if you guys
Yeah.
are back to hear about that. That's gonna do it for episode 7. Thanks, Superman Jeff. Thank you, Blue Bones. Thanks everybody in the chat for watching. Actually, what are you guys gonna be doing later this week? Like, what stuff do you have coming out?
So Monday, I have a Monday Night Siege. We definitely want to get more people involved with that. So if you haven't, definitely come out. It's on Game Pass, free if you own Game Pass. We'll be playing at 8 o'clock Eastern. So we're looking for some people to come out, do some private matches. It was fun playing online, but it was a lot more fun with private matches.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it was tons of fun. And then Thursday, I'll be doing some Destiny 2, Guardian Thursday. Looking to set up some private matches with that in the future. So definitely, if you play Destiny, definitely definitely join our Discord. Come in there, see what we're playing, see when we're playing it, and definitely come in and check it out.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
How about you, Blue?
So this week coming up, I'm going to be doing a build. I'm gonna be building this Gundam, actually.
Oh, so you
Super excited about that.
you're sure this one is not already assembled?
This one is this was not already assembled. If you don't know what we're talking about, definitely check out my Twitch. Check out the VODs. There's a really funny build on that one. But we're gonna actually do a build on stream. I'm not exactly sure what day yet. I'm gonna make that happen. So if you got notifications turned on, you'll see it. And then also Saturday morning. I'm gonna figure out the exact time. I'm gonna start this Star Wars Saturday stream where
Nice.
we're gonna just be talking spoilers too, by the way. So that means Mandalorian comes out on Friday. If you ain't watch it by Saturday, just watch the VOD later after you watched it. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be fun. But we're gonna be talking about every detail we can. I don't know, Jeff. We're gonna find out if you're gonna be on that one too. We're gonna work out the scheduling, but I'm super excited about that. We're either gonna be playing a Star Wars game, just watching. It's just gonna be talking, hanging out, and just nerding out. So I'm super excited about that. And of course,
Cool.
for All Fridays, I totally skipped over that. Free for All Fridays is gonna be on the Open Party channel. I'm super excited about that. I don't know what we're gonna do this time, but last week we did Rogue Company and Tekken. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. You know what I mean? I like being able to do team games and then go into one-on-one because you're either frustrated with your teammates or you want to continue beating the enemy down. So it's like either way, it's a great time with so yeah, man.
Good stuff.
Mhm.
All right, you guys, stay tuned to these channels. This afternoon,
Yeah.
we'll be back with Super Smash Sunday. And then you can catch me on The Escapist for Escapist Game Night tonight. Don't know what we're playing. So you'll find out when I do, probably.
Right?
Other than that, make sure you follow these guys, Blue Bones and Superman Jeff 12, as well as myself, Sigma Gears 9. That's going to do it. Bye.
Adios.